Hello and welcome to the Deepdale Podcast. It's November and we hope you've enjoyed Halloween and bonfire night and are looking forward to the late autumn and winter, one of our favourite times here on the beautiful North Norfolk coast. I'm Jason and I have 3 chats for you this month. Sam and Matt from Burn Valley Vineyard, which was recorded in late summer before their amazing bumper grape harvest, which you may have seen in the news. David from Moongazer Ale chatting about his epic fundraiser for It's On The Ball charity, and Nat from Good Journey chatting about car-free tourism. But first, our Chris has some exciting news about Deepdale Camping and Rooms. Welcome to the podcast, Chris. Tell us more.
The great news is that we've won the AA Small Campsite of the Year award for the UK in 2023. So we're very chuffed about that. Really pleased. And yeah, it's a great validation of what we've been doing here and fantastic news.
The best thing I think is that it's come from the inspectors, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really, really good on that basis. You know, we get inspected every year by the AA and then included in their guide to campsites across the UK. And this year we got our gold 4-pennant award, and that has led to this. So yes, very pleased indeed. Absolutely chuffed.
And we had no idea it was coming. You just picked up the post, which is normally bills as post normally is these days, and there it was.
That's right. Yeah, I just went over and picked up the post. Had a big padded envelope with something solid in it. Wondered what some of our customers might have inadvertently borrowed and then realised and sent back to us, but out slid the award. Very, very pleased indeed.
It's so much about the facilities and the staff, and I think the staff are really chuffed. It's one of those awards that we haven't been allowed to talk about because we weren't allowed to launch it, but then we were allowed to tell the staff. So it's become the award that we're not allowed to talk about, basically, seems to be how it's known. And people seem to, the team are just so chuffed that we've won it. And I think it's a massive vindication of the wonderful customer service and also the quality of the facilities.
Yeah, it is. That's right. We stood up yesterday at afternoon tea for the team to thank them for the season, and we didn't talk about the award that we couldn't talk about at that afternoon tea. But yeah, it is. It's a combination, isn't it, of the facilities available on the park, and how we've continued to improve them and what we offer to customers. The new setup for the showers this year has really gone down fantastically well, but it's also a great recognition for the team that we put together here and that work so hard every year to deliver incredible levels of customer service, and it's great recognition for that. So we are completely chuffed and over the moon with it.
And of course, if you're wanting to come and stay this winter at the UK's Small Campsite of the Year, then you could take advantage of our wonderful 3 for 2 offer that we have midweek. Sunday through till Thursday nights, stay for 3 nights and pay for 2. And so it's a fantastic deal if you're wanting to explore this part of the world away from the weekends. If you can escape your day-to-day life for a few days midweek, you can make it an incredibly good value visit.
And it also applies to our rooms as well, our lovely ensuite rooms. And they've been filling up these last couple of weeks, but we've got space, I think, week after next. So that's when you first get some space for that. And yeah, come on over.
And if you're wondering what there is to do on the North Norfolk coast at this time of year, well, of course, there's the incredible seafood that's available. Mussels and that sort of thing, literally from the other side of the road for most wonderful seafood meals. Plus, the winter wildlife is out of this world. So much to see and do. It's just fantastic. So it's a great time to be here. No queues. You get the beaches to yourself and, just get this wonderful, amazing, beautiful part of the world at a completely different time of year. Yes, you'll need some layers. There is no doubting you'll need some layers and possibly a rain jacket on occasions, but it is a stunningly beautiful point of the year and a great excuse to go to the pub after you've had a walk. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for the news. That's brilliant. Just one other item to mention before we go on with the rest of the podcast. Man the Lifeboats, one of our favourite bands here at Deepdale, are returning to the Brick Barn on Friday the 24th of November. It will be a brilliant evening with great music and lots of dancing. Not too late to join us. Either book into accommodation and add a discounted ticket, or you can buy tickets just for the evening through our Try Booking website. For more information on the gig, please visit deepdalemusic.co.uk. Hope to see you on the 24th of November.
Skies all open wide, geese go high and over. Oh, now you're a beachcomber, fistful of sandfire, sea, lavender, see you next year.
I am sitting in a very lovely marquee in the lovely surroundings of the Burn Valley Vineyard. And I have two very nice members of the team here who are going to tell us a bit more about the thing, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Sam, and I co-own the vineyard with my sister Laura.
And I'm Matthew Abbey. I'm the winemaker at Burn Valley Vineyard.
Excellent. So I remember a good few years ago when you guys got in touch and said, could we have a letter of support to help put this vineyard sort of together? How did the whole kind of idea come about? Was it travel? Was it just walking through vineyards in France and going, I need to do this?
So the idea came about by our father John about 10 years ago. His partner has got a house in France, and being a farmer, he was testing the soil, having a look at the soil, and realising that it wasn't too dissimilar to what we have on the farm here. And both me and my sister were working abroad at the time, and I think it was a bit of a ploy to try and entice us back to Norfolk. So suggested the idea of planting a vineyard. So my sister Laura primarily did lots of research into it, became a member of, went to a Wine GB East meeting, met, and there was a couple of vineyards already set up in the area, and had a chat. And then we planted in 2016, halfway down the farm here, and then we finished our winery in 2019.
So what sort of acreage of vines have you got?
It's about 11 acres. We've got 9 different grape varieties, mixture of reds, whites, but yeah, we produce all sorts.
And that produces what sort of numbers of bottles of wine?
Varies year to year, really, because obviously the yields fluctuate. The vines are still quite young because they were only planted in 2016, so the yields will increase probably year on year a little bit until they reach about 10 years old, and then you start to get more consistency. So we've got the 17,000 vines over 4 hectare, which normally yields about 20 tonne, give or take. It just kind of varies on the season. The still varieties typically yield quite well. So on the whites we've got Solaris, Bacchus, Schomburger and Savoy Blanc. And then on the reds we've got early Pinot Noir, Fru Burgunder is the clone. And then we've got some Rondo and Regent as well. And then we've got 5,000 vines under sparkling Chardonnay with a little bit of still Chardonnay. And then 5,000 under Pinot Noir for sparkling. But they typically lower yield where we are. Whereas if we're all still vines, we'd probably actually have a more bigger yield. But it's going to increase a little bit year on year. But because we're quite a small vineyard to offset, we do buy fruit in from a few selective vineyards around East Anglia just to help with our production, because we were selling out of wine every 6 months pretty much after vintage. So couldn't make enough.
That's a good thing in many ways, but I can understand that it's slightly frustrating if you're building up a brand and then you sell out and go from there. So all of the fruit that you bottle is from East Anglia, is it?
Yeah, that's correct. I say we do everything on site. So all the winemaking's done here. We bottle, we label. but we do a little bit of contract winemaking for a few other boutique vineyards around here, and then we source from selective vineyards that we have a contract with, and they tend to be similar varieties to what we grow. So it's kind of nice to have just a little bit of a top up on what we can't kind of produce, because we haven't put another vineyard in yet. But the plan is to put another 4,000 vines up here by the winery, and that will be done over probably a couple of years. But we're looking at starting that next year, hopefully, and that will just obviously help increase our production, which means then we don't have to buy in as much fruit.
Excellent, lovely. So in terms of buying wine, can they buy from your website, call in to pick it up, or how does it work?
So you're more than welcome to come down to the winery, buy cellar door here. We also stock locally, so lots of local farmers, delis, and we're down at the farmers market at Creek Abbey, which is the first Saturday of every month. Quite a few restaurants around here stock it. A few places in Norwich, Gerald's, you can get it here, there, and everywhere. But come and find us at the winery if you can.
Excellent. And this seems set up so that you can kind of come and enjoy some quality time here and possibly need a taxi home. What sort of events and kind of interactions do you offer?
So throughout the summer period, from kind of April to October time, we do wine tastings and lunches. So this year we're doing it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can find all the dates and times on the website, but it's normally 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock on those days, where you'll be shown a wine tasting with probably Dave, who works with us. You'll go through around 6 of our wines, and then you've got the option of having a nice charcuterie or a seafood platter alongside it. We also do some secret supper evenings and steak night evenings, selective dates across the summer. We'll probably do a couple more towards the end of the year as well, so keep an eye on the website. And then the main other date is our summer party, which is a really lovely day. We've got live jazz music, we've got some food, and obviously we'll have the bar open all day, and that's the 19th of August, and you can buy tickets for that online as well. But just to say, we also have Burn Valley Catering, so my sister and her partner Steve run Burn Valley Catering. So Steve does the most amazing food, and he produces all the lunches that go alongside the tastings as well.
And there's a very nice big barbecue outside, so I'm hoping that at some point you get taste something off that. That'd be great. So how did you end up being a winemaker?
I basically been in the wine industry for about 20 years now. Started in wine retail at Adnams, but I used to basically work in bars and used to do the wine list for a couple of restaurants when I was really younger. But got my kind of trade experience through Adnams, did a couple of wine courses as well. Then went to New Zealand and lived out there for 12 years. Was only supposed to go for a year, as most people do. Ended up staying 12. Started in Marlborough, but spent majority of my time in Central Otago, about 10 years, and also a stint in Hawke's Bay. So I learned all my kind of winemaking and viticulture out there on the job. You can do a degree in it as well, which I was looking at doing, because my original plan was to split my time between the UK and New Zealand, but good old COVID obviously got in the way of that, annoyingly. It's a fabulous industry out there and a great place to learn. But I came back in 2019 to visit family who live locally, heard what the family were doing here, came up, met with Laura. We looked at each other and like, where do we know each other from? And we all went to Wells High School together, so it kind of just fell in place, really. But so the plan was to float between NZ and UK, so never see a winter, so just basically do back-to-back summers and do back-to-back harvests. But as we've grown and we've taken on more work, it's just harder to basically get away from it. But I'll probably move back eventually, but I won't leave it until kind of Laura and the family have it all established and can kind of basically move on without me, and hopefully Laura can make the wine herself in the future, which will definitely be the aim. So it's just kind of getting started and getting them on the foot, and then eventually I can kind of hand over the reins and look at going back to New Zealand and probably retire if I can.
We don't want him going anywhere just yet, though.
Excellent. So if anybody wants to kind of know what's going on and what sort of wines are on offer, where do they head to?
So it's all on the website. We've got there's a shop on the website as well, so you can buy directly through the website with the full list of what's currently available, and it'll have a small tasting note on there as well. Obviously, just give us a ring if you want anything, or just swing by, and you're more than welcome to have obviously we have the official wine tastings, but we're kind of throughout the summer. There's always somebody about every day between 12 and 3, so you're more than welcome just to pop in, even if it's not on one of the official wine tasting days, and someone's here to give you a little sample and purchase anything you like.
And the web address is?
burnvalleyvineyard.co.uk.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. Lovely to talk to you. Yeah, we look forward to seeing this place developing and seeing the new vines and everything else. That'd be fantastic. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
I am at the lovely Moongazer Ale Brewery. and I am with the incredible David, and we're going to have a chat about his epic fundraiser of walking 7 marathons in 7 days, pushing a 75 kilogram barrel of beer, which was an amazing feat, and the amount of money he raised. We're sitting in the bottle store, which has got lots of very nice beers around me and a couple of kegs. It's the slightly quieter end of the town. You can hear in the background the brewing process. What are you brewing?
We're brewing our Pintail again today, our ever popular gluten-free ale. So second time we brewed it this week. So probably our biggest seller by far, Pintail.
So welcome to Deepdale Podcast, David, and huge congratulations on completing. I think you're now no longer catatonic, whereas I thought about interviewing you on the day you finished, and I thought that's just unfair. How do you feel, sort of like sort of a couple of weeks on from an amazing challenge?
No, it was a truly amazing experience in so many ways, and physically very, very challenging, mentally very challenging, but incredibly rewarding as well. And we really got the message out there, albeit in a very crazy and foolhardy way of me doing seven marathons in 7 days with 75 kilos, and I was only 76 kilos myself. So, and I didn't realise how hilly Norfolk was, particularly the last day up to Deepdale. So we were doing some incredibly testing hills up on the way back to Burnham Deepdale, and that took its toll on the last day. But no, it's just amazing the support we got, and the money we've raised and the awareness we've raised for the charity makes it all worthwhile, and lots of memories.
So tell me a bit more about the charity. What is it that they do?
So It's on the Ball is a small Norfolk charity, and all the male trustees are survivors of testicular cancer, and it's a not very well known cancer, but it can take young people quite rapidly. It's a very easy cancer to cure, but it's a very fast spreading cancer, so diagnosis in time is key to this one. And what the guys wanted to do was put back after they'd been treated, and just try and stop young men, particularly young men, falling victim to this cancer, because no one needs to die from it, but sadly they do. So their work involves spreading awareness and getting guys to check themselves once a month, because if you do that, you will likely survive. If you don't check yourself, or you ignore symptoms, you can very quickly turn that 96% chance of survival into a death certificate, and they go out and spread that message and get guys checking themselves. But because they're all survivors, they also support people going through treatment, which is really important. So they do support packs and one-to-one mentoring. And we all know when you get ill, you never ask the doctor the questions that you want to ask when you're there. But when you've got someone that's been through it, you don't have to ask the questions. They'll tell you what you need to know, and they'll support you. And sadly, in this cost of living crisis, the last thing that they do is they help people financially. So they're currently paying for people to travel to St Bart's in London because they can't afford to go and get treated to save their life. How sad is that? So they'll support people. And often, because it's a young person's cancer, and once you get diagnosed, you are acted on very, very quickly. There's no waiting list. You're in within a couple of days. So often young men with mortgages or young families or rents to pay have that headache because they're suddenly not at work. What It's on the Ball will do is they'll step in, they'll say, we'll sort that out for the next couple of months for you, don't worry about that, give you time to put your affairs in order, and it just takes that stress away from the sufferers before they do that. So it's incredible work that they do. And like I say, I'm full of admiration for them, because they could have walked away after their treatment and said thanks very much, but they thought there's a job of work to be done here, and they do it. So that's why we support them and do crazy things like Beer Push.
And was there a particular reason that you felt you wanted to be involved with it, or was it just that you liked the guys that were involved and liked the challenges?
There's a couple of things really. I mean, when It's on the Ball first approached us, because of the subject matter of what they do, they'd been to lots of people and they'd had lots of rejection. So we wanted to help them because they were very sincere and they just wanted to do good. And we just thought, well, forget the subject matter. We're just going to do it for them. And also on a personal note, a friend of ours, Steve and Joe, lost their son Fred at the age of 24. And a friend that I used to go to football with, Alan Pickering, sadly died of the disease after we actually got involved with the charity, but he got treated simply because of our work with it, and emailed me one day and said, "You've just saved my life." And sadly it wasn't to be. He beat it the first time, but he couldn't beat it the second time.
Do you need to check your... Well, we'll have a pause and you just go and check it.
Just go quickly down.
All good, that's great. Excellent. So tell us a bit about the challenge. Because last year you walked from here at the brewery down to St Bart's in London, didn't you? And you decided to do something extra special this year and do 7 marathons in 7 days. So tell me a bit about how that kind of came about and what was the plan.
So yeah, last year we went from the brewery in North Norfolk down to St Bart's Hospital. St Bart's is where you go for some very severe treatment, so that's kind of like the regional hub where you need some sort of pretty intensive treatment, and sadly that's where Fred, the young lad, Steve's son, passed away. So we wanted to go and see the nurses that were with Fred when he died, or as they say, turned into an angel, and we wanted to go and thank them. And on that route, I did one of the longest day we did was 25 miles, and I thought, oh, the seed was sown then. It's like, that was 25 miles, I think I could do 26. So when we came back, we had an amazing time going to London, but what we realised is that everyone that came out to see us and talk about testicular cancer were either sufferers or survivors or family members who'd lost someone. Everyone we saw that hadn't had that happen to them were like, what's that? Never heard of it. So we thought there's still a job of work to do here. And we wanted to keep it in Norfolk because that's where It's on the Ball do most of their work, and we wanted to involve the pubs and the communities and people like Deepdale to do events and just raise a bit more awareness by having some activities on in the evening. Again, forgetting that I'd be absolutely knackered after doing a marathon, so staying up and doing bingos and quizzes and auctions till gone 10 o'clock every night was as much a challenge as pushing the barrel each day. But it was just an amazing event, so hundreds literally turned up to the events across the week, and because we were in Norfolk, which is our kind of homeland, hundreds of people just joined us every day. So there was hardly a moment when I wasn't walking without someone by our side just egging us on and cheering us on. So that made it a lot shorter, and that was really, really appreciated.
So big question is, how much do you think you've raised?
Well, a staggering amount, to be honest with you. We set out to get our total up to 35, which I thought was a bit of a long shot. We're already at just over 39,000, but with what we've got promised still to come in, people are still out there raising money and finishing off events for the whole month of October. So we think we're going to top 40 or possibly 41,000, which is just a staggering amount of money, and will really help the charity literally save young men's lives. So that's a brilliant thing. And a small charity like that, every penny we raise gets spent by them. There's not marketing costs or admin costs. It all literally goes back into the pot to do some good. So every pound is a pound raised is a pound spent on awareness and spent on support. So yeah, it's a really big amount for that charity.
Well, I think it's just absolutely amazing, and I think you're awesome, and I know that you're already thinking about whether you should be doing another one, despite the fact that on the evening when you finished your 7th one and arrived at Deepdale, there was definitely a sense of, yes, possibly not do that again. But it's amazing how within a couple of weeks your brain has gone, oh, I think there could be a thing in your body has stopped reminding it how much it hurt. So I really, really hope that whatever you do next is just as exciting, but possibly slightly less physically demanding on you. And I think it's just amazing what you've done. And the people who came to the barn dance, they came to dance in a barn, having really no idea kind of what it was all about. But when they heard the story and had the information, they were just so impressed, and they just put their hands in their pockets, which was absolutely wonderful. So I'm not sure we got you barn dancing, though. I think that would have been maybe one step too far, but just huge congratulations.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you to everyone at Deepdale for the support over the years we've been doing this, and we will be back.
Well, I hope the Pintail brewing goes really well. If you haven't tried their beers, they are amazing, and they're a really wonderful range. You'll find them at Deepdale and there are various bars, and you can buy them on their online. Just look up Moongazer Ale, and fantastic beers and a really good Christmas present. Really good Christmas present. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Jason. Really appreciate it.
I'm really pleased to welcome Nat Taplin from Good Journey to the Deepdale Podcast. Lovely to have him on here. We thought it'd be really good because we're now part of Good Journey, and we're part of the sort of Norfolk aspect of Good Journey. And I thought it'd be really good to talk to Nat about how Good Journey came about, what it does, what its aims are, that sort of thing. So welcome. How are you doing?
Yeah, great to be here.
You're in Good Journey HQ, are you?
I'm based in Frome in Somerset, but like most organisations these days, the other members of the team are spread out around the place: Leeds, Hertfordshire, London. Yeah, nice autumnal afternoon.
So tell me a bit about kind of Good Journey. You know, what's its purpose and where did it come from?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we set up Good Journey to sort of fill a gap because there's been quite a lot of work done by local government and other organisations like Sustrans, for example, around helping people get to school, get to work, get to hospital. And leisure travel is the area which tends to fall through the net, because I think maybe it's more complicated to work out how to help people, because it's different people making spontaneous journeys on their day off, going different places. So it's rather than doing a repeat journey like a school run or a supermarket shop where they're doing the same thing every week. As you'll know, if you've ever tried to string together a car-free day out, the information that you find on a lot of visitor attraction websites or accommodation providers around public transport is a bit thin on the ground. You know, it tends to be loads of detail about how to get there by car from every direction. And then somewhere down the bottom of the page, it's kind of there's a railway station 5 miles away, good luck, without a link to the train times or any of the other sort of detail that you need. So Good Journey, what we do is we provide that really sort of detailed handheld information where it's like you've got somebody with you every step of the way telling you where you need to change, and even the walking route right from the bus stop to the front door of the place that you're going. So to give people a kind of confidence to be able to leave their cars behind and enjoy a car-free day out. And of course, it's worth mentioning 24% of the population don't own cars. So those are people who, you know, if they're going to have the same access to leisure and nature and culture, then, you know, visitor attractions and leisure businesses of all kinds really have to reach out and help those people to get to them. Otherwise, they're not enjoying the same leisure experiences as everyone else.
Yeah, definitely seems to be a growing trend in cities to not, you know, people who live in cities. Us lot who live in the countryside find it significantly harder without a car. But if you live in a city with even half decent public transport, often it's much easier to wait for a bus than try and find a parking space, and certainly significantly cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in London, it's got the lowest car ownership in the UK, and in many other cities, I mean, particularly in the lowest income areas, car ownership goes down to, I was just looking at a map today of the latest census info on this, and it's car ownership drops. It is as many as 77% of households in some places. That's the kind of top figure in the UK. 77% of households with no car. So yeah, there's a big social inclusion angle to this, as well as of course an environmental one. And you only have to think back to the horrendous wildfires and record temperatures being experienced around the world this summer, and then the kind of storms and flooding that we're getting now in the winter, to realize that, you know, climate change is like with us, and it's a real issue that won't go away. And transport is a big part of that. Transport is the major part of the UK's CO2 cake, and car travel, biggest contributor to that. And leisure travel is the kind of fastest growing area of travel. I mean, commuting and things have taken a dip since COVID, but leisure travel is steadily on the way up.
Do you think it's easier now for a tourism business to be green than it was 10 or 15 years ago?
That's an interesting question. Are you thinking across the board, like all sorts of sustainability measures? I mean, obviously, green electricity, more widely available, and a lot of sort of other measures like rainwater harvesting and air source heat pumps and things are kind of right there in the mainstream that when they weren't 10, 20 years ago. And really obvious things like insulating your property effectively to cut down on energy loss. So I mean, I think yes, in a sense. I think that's probably true. But I think travel tends to be the kind of final frontier. It's the thing that you'll get a lot of, I won't name any names, but there's some very progressive organisations and tourism businesses out there who have done great stuff around greening themselves on site, but have tended to sort of shy away from tackling visitor travel and trying to kind of look at that part of the carbon budget as being somebody else's problem rather than theirs.
I think it's always been difficult to know exactly how you do the maths for your impact, because where we are at Deepdale, we offer, we put car as one of our last things. We put flying as the very last, but we put car as a sort of second to last item on the list. But of course, people have got to get themselves from, they can catch the train to King's Lynn or to Norwich, but they've got to get themselves from there to us, which is, sometimes easy, sometimes hard, and impossible on a Friday night. And you kind of look at it and you kind of think, so what we've tried to do is we've tried ever since we opened really to try and encourage people to leave their vehicles at Deepdale when they've arrived, knowing that our business would be detrimentally affected if we actively discourage them from coming by their own vehicles to Deepdale. Because if we say, leave your car at home, one, we wouldn't have any of the camper vans that we have, which is a huge part of our market. But two, you would never be able to fill up at a weekend because people would have to come on Saturday morning and have to leave on Sunday afternoon. Otherwise, they couldn't come and go by public transport. So but also it's kind of that query of, who is responsible for that carbon of that travel? Is it the tourism business you're going to stay with? Or is it you as a personal individual, and where does that get accounted for? And I think part of my question about is it easier to be green, I think my sadness is that the government hasn't led on this at all in terms of having proper, decent carbon calculators that are and really clear policies and maths, so that you can sit down and work out your carbon footprint of, it was exactly the same in farming when we were trying to do that for the farm. There was 1 million people who were telling you that they knew how to do it, but they all had slightly different systems, and none of them had been formally recognized by the government because the government haven't done it. Whereas if you look at, say, organic food, they have they have 6 organizations who are clearly registered, and if you want to produce organic food, you have to register with them. And I think, so we've got green business, green tourism business scheme, but that's, it's not been widely pushed across everybody, and got you guys doing a really good job with kind of how to get from A to B and enjoy car-free days. But I think for me, it's frustrating that we haven't had good quality leadership from central government and Whitehall particularly to really have some clear cut rules. I know what tax I have to pay. I know how VAT works. I know what the fire regulations are, as much as I'm sure there's some discussion around those. But what hasn't happened has been proper good leadership about running a green, sustainable business.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a need for kind of clearer leadership on that from government. And as you say, it's not always easy or possible for everyone to go car free, and I don't think that's what we're suggesting, but we're saying, while you're on holiday, it's a great time to do something different and to enjoy a car free day out. And I think the thing is, when you go car free, you have a very different kind of experience. You can sit back, look out the window, read a book, chat with the family, have a picnic whilst you travel, enjoy a glass of wine or a pint or two in a local pub. And they're the kind of things that will get you into trouble if you try and do them while driving. So I think what we're saying is, we're not suggesting that it's not going to be for everyone to have an entirely car-free holiday, but it's great what you're doing, putting the information there, changing the running order. It's like when you go into a restaurant and the vegan options are at the top of the menu. It means you read them and you think, oh, actually, do you know what? That sounds quite tasty. I think I might try that, regardless of whether or not you're actually a vegan the rest of the time. And that's been clearly shown to be the case. And I think it's exactly the same principle with travel information for an accommodation provider or an attraction. If you kick off with the fact that there is a bus service there, and it's flagged up at the top of the page, and even better, there's some kind of discount or reward to be had, maybe a free cup of tea, or just down the road at Drove Orchards from yourselves, they're offering a free apple juice for people who turn up by bus and show a bus ticket. So it's just it's putting it there so that everyone who's planning their trip sees it and knows it's a possibility, and it sows the seed in their mind. And people staying at Deepdale, for example, you can walk out the front door straight onto the coast path, do a linear walk for 2, 3, 5, 10 miles, and then pop inland, a short link through. And one of the great things on the coast path there is there are actual signposts pointing you the way back to the coast top of bus, which is brilliant. I'd love to see more of that on public footpaths, just because, again, it's putting the information out there. There's somebody who may have turned up by car and they're assuming that they have to do the whole thing by car. And then there's a signpost pointing them the way and showing there's the coast top of bus, and they can jump back on, do a linear walk. As I say, they can enjoy a pint in a country pub. It's about giving people the choice, I think. And when you travel car free, you have a different kind of experience. Rather than being in the bubble of your own car, you'll meet people at the bus stop and hear the locals chatting on board the bus. You feel the wind in your hair, perhaps a bit of rain, and you're just out there getting under the skin of the landscape and really experiencing a place in a different way. I think one of the things I found is when you're in a car, you maybe arrive somewhere, you have a quick look around, you go, I don't know, isn't it great, this place? And you're on to the next, back in the car and heading on down the road in search of the perfect place. And whereas if you get dropped off somewhere and there's only a bus every couple of hours, you get off, well, you're there. And you have a proper look round.
Yeah, you can't escape. You have to find things to do.
Yeah, but you have a proper look round, and you go down some side streets, and then you discover there's a little bakery or a cafe that you hadn't spotted. You find a notice board that's got a poster that's got a local gig on that day, or an exhibition in a village hall or something, and you'll discover somebody selling some produce from their garden gate. You're suddenly kind of like getting under the skin of a place, and really sort of seeing it. It's kind of slow travel, I think. It's about seeing a place at a slower pace and really sort of taking it in, and meeting local people, and having a different kind of experience.
I think the church, St Mary's Church, which is opposite us, we're next to one of the bus stops, and the visitor information centre, which we have as our reception. The highest number of people coming in there are people who are sort of waiting for the bus and have 20 minutes to kill or an hour to kill before the next bus, and they come in and actually take the time to have a look, and they wouldn't have gone in and discovered the man in the moon and the stained glass in the church and that sort of stuff if they hadn't had to fill that time. And then they go, oh, actually, this is quite good. Whereas actually, of all the people that we get complaints from about, oh, well, there's not much to do in Burn and Deepdale, it tends to be car owners who've driven in and completely missed, all the different things to do because they haven't been forced to, as you say, slow down and notice what's there. So it's quite interesting, isn't it, really? Yeah. Well, it's great being involved with Good Journey. Thank you for that. And we have our listing along with a lot of other Norfolk businesses. They've worked hard, the team at Good Journey, with Norfolk County Council to put together and add a lot of Norfolk businesses. So it's well worth using the website. The website is goodjourney.org.uk. You can also head to travelnorfolk.co.uk, which mixes in a lot of the really useful information, so you can really find how to move around and see things. And great journey planner on there. So it is a really, really useful tool and very worthwhile accessing while you're staying in Norfolk. Got some great images, got some really good information, and lots of as Nat was saying, lots of kind of free things, like sort of free drinks if you go off and do a tour here or visit this shop there, or we offer discounts for people staying in our rooms if they travel by green means, either by bike or walking or by bus. And we also have specific pitches that are only bookable if you arrive by foot or by bike. They don't need a car parking space, so we can fit them in a different way. Definitely worth exploring their website. Huge thank you to you, Nat, for joining me on Deepdale Podcast, and I hope continue to work with you guys, and we look forward to seeing your continual developments of the website. Have you got any other big sort of plans for the website, or are you just keep continuing adding content?
We're really excited that we've had a whole load of different attractions partnering up this year. So English Heritage, we've got a pilot with 10 English Heritage properties all over England, and another pilot with the National Trust, 10 properties around the north of England as well, both joining up this year, and Heritage Environment Scotland, which is the equivalent of English Heritage up in Scotland as well, joined us with a dozen sites this year. So yeah, it's really great that it's sort of starting to gain traction with some of those national organisations, and we're hoping that the Good Journey mark will become a much more familiar site. There'll be a lot more attractions around the country in years to come, which will be welcoming car-free visitors, giving people the information that they need to get their car free, and a reward, a thank you for doing it that way.
Well, thank you again, Nat, for joining me on here. And again, if you're looking for more information about car-free adventures, as they say, with easy travel directions and great discounts at attractions, then head to goodjourney.org.uk. Thank you so much, Nat.
Brilliant. No, very, very nice to join you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Deepdale Podcast. Chris and I will be back in December with our annual Top Albums of the Year episode. In the meantime, have a great November. Maybe we'll see you for Man the Lifeboats on the 24th of November, some Christmas shopping at Dalgate Market, or a stay to enjoy the wonderful wildlife and seafood of the beautiful North Norfolk coast. Don't forget, you can enjoy previous episodes of the Deepdale Podcast on any good podcast app or directory. Just search Deepdale Podcast. Keep well, and we hope we'll see you soon.
Skies all open wide, geese go high and over. Oh, now you're a beachcomber, fistful of sandfire, sea, lavender, sea.